Hey, what's up? Hope everything's going well. Two days ago, you didn't know how to find cop videos, but now you're watching Sovereign Crazies.
What you think about when you're born into a fire.
I've seen a girl that covers Sovereign Citizen. I can't remember what her name was though.
They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and
Somebody clipped my review. Well, it's Border Collies, but clipped my review of Hillbilly Elegy and pasted it together with scenes from the movie, and it's the greatest. It is the greatest cinematic production of all time. I'll die. I will die on that hill. It's fucking amazing. And I nailed it. There were people in the comments like, oh, he's exaggerating. That's not what happened. I watched it. I nailed it.
we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake it through the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake it through the back of the pack.
Well, let's roll it, I guess.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Give me just a second. I was looking for that story. Okay, got it. Thank you guys for joining us. Mariah says I have to be home early tonight, but she's not the dad of me. Okay, so here we are doing the show. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. I appreciate you coming by. The greatest piece of cinematic, I want to call it a masterpiece. Okay, it's a masterpiece. Has been released. If you haven't seen it, you haven't clicked the link yet, it's there. It's amazing. I'm going to show it to you. It is the full. I'm just going to turn my camera off. It is the full review of Hillbilly Elegy. Border Collies are the best. Put this together, and it's pretty fucking amazing. So here you go. I'll kill my camera. You guys enjoy. It's pretty good. Probably get a content strike for it, but here we go. Wait. Let me get the audio first. Boom. Back that up. Now we're ready, right? Yes. All right, let me tell you about J.D. Vance's backstory. It starts out the movie, they're back home visiting in Kentucky. He's kind of bullied. He tries to stand up for himself, but he's like this little fat, little bit autistic-looking actor. His mom's a nurse, and she's still in pain pills. They get a dog for Easter. The dog pisses in his mom's floor, and she's like, I told you, you little fucking bastard. So he's mad at his mom about the dog thing. She's like, how long are you going to be mad at me? And he's like, ooh. You want to go to your favorite store? She's trying to buy his love with football cards. Because I'm going, and I guess I'll just be looking at all the cute men in their football pants. Okay, he picks all these fucking Joe Montana football cards. She's like, he may be the greatest quarterback, but who has the best touchdown dance? And he tries to dance, and he's kind of chubby and autistic, so he knocks over a rack. The guy behind the counter flips out. He's like, pick it up! Pick it up! I told you to pick it up! Just get the fuck out of here! Just get the fuck out! And I'm thinking, it's a football card store. How many customers do you get in a day? So she steals the football cards. So they're like running to the car giggling, and she's like, here, I got these for you. Get in, hurry, hurry, hurry. After they take off, they're driving down the road in her Jeep Cherokee, which is the exact same color and model of my Jeep Cherokee. And she's like, what do you think about Kent? He's like, I don't know. He's all right. Like, I really like him. I've been thinking about all of us moving in together. Like, I don't know, Mom. I was talking to my friend Chris, and he said, that's just your flavor of the week. And she goes, what? What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? I don't know, Mom. You just had a lot of guys. You little fucking shit. You little piece of shit. I could just wreck this car and kill us. And she's going faster and faster. The miles per hour are like pegged out. And she's like on this country road. She's swerving in and out of cars. They're going to kill us. Oh my God, stop. So he unbuckles and climbs in the back for some reason. Like, that's a safer position. What the fuck are you doing? Get back up here. Put your seatbelt on. You crying little bitch. You little fucking lord ass. And she's fucking hitting him. You fucking think your mom's a whore? You're a stupid bitch. Come here, lord ass. I'm not making any of this up. So he gets out the back door and he starts running up, which he's chubby. And there's a lady outside watering. I told you I wasn't making any of this up. There were people that thought that I was exaggerating this. I didn't exaggerate any of this. Whore, you're a stupid bitch. Come here, lord ass. I'm not making any of this up. So he gets out the back door and he starts running up, which he's chubby. And there's a lady outside watering her garden. And she's like, what's going on, honey? My mom's trying to kill me. The mom comes running up the driveway and she's like, I have dogs.
dogs and they bite. And his 2 corgis.
This is a full review of Hillbilly Elegy in 5 minutes or less.
Mom comes up like what's going on, honey? My mom's trying to kill me. The mom comes running up the driveway and she's like, I have dogs and they bite. And his
By the way, I did all this from memory, okay? They've added the footage behind me, but I had like a press conference up. I did all this from memory because I watched it like a week earlier because I saw that Mariah had already watched it on our Netflix account.
There's a lady outside watering her garden, and she's like, what's going on, honey? My mom's trying to kill me. The mom comes running up the driveway, and she's like, I have dogs, and they bite. And his 2 corgis. Mom comes up like Terminator and just punches through the screen door, unlocks it, and says, I'm getting my fucking kids. Come on, you little fat shit. And she's she's dragging him down the stairs by one arm. Like he's just like, ta-dunk, ta-dunk, ta-dunk. Suddenly there's 2 cops there and they're like, ma'am, drop the kid. You don't understand. He's just being a little fucking fat ass piece of shit. And then he sees them like start putting his mom in a police car and he's like, no, that's my mama. And the cop's like, son, your mama needs some help. We cut back to the grandma. I can't believe you're doing this. Oh, you got to fix this. It's not my fault. It's that little lord ass over there. That little lord ass over there starting trouble. Anyways, it's flashing back and forth between him at home and him at Yale. He's at Yale and his aid package comes through and he's going to be $21,000 short.
I even got the amount right, okay? I even got the amount right. $21,000 short.
He's like at this interview to get an internship and he freaks out. He doesn't know how to use the fork, so he calls his girlfriend because she's fancy. He's not. He's just a hillbilly. Drink is on the right, bread is on the left. Use the forks from the outside in. The guy that's at the law firm where he wants to intern with says something about rednecks. He's like, we don't use that word. We don't use that word. Like he just dropped the N-word or something. We don't use that word. While he's at that dinner, he gets a call that his mom overdosed on heroin. So they take his mom to a rehab center. He pays with like 4 different credit cards. His mom gets mad and says, I'm not a charity case. And he's talking to his sister and he's like, fuck her, I'm done. The sister's like, it didn't start with us. There's another flashback to even before when his mom was a little girl. Grandpa comes home drunk and grandma's cussing him and then she sets him on fire while he's sleeping on the couch. So he feels bad for his mom now. He gets a call back from the internship, but he's got to be there at 10 a.m. in the morning and he's 10 hours away. Like he's trying to decide, do I stay here and take care of my mom or do I drive to get that job so I can spend the summer with my girlfriend in D.C.? His mom says, just stay with me. And he says, I can't. I'm not saving anybody right here. I hope you don't give up, but I've got to go do this, Mom. And he drives away. And that's the end of the movie. That's it. That's the whole movie. You're welcome.
That's literally the end of the movie. He leaves his mom in addiction in a hotel room. And it's like, I'm not saving anybody here. And he just fucking leaves her. Full review. That was awesome. That was awesome. I always wanted to do that, but I didn't have the time. I'm glad somebody did it for me. That was great. Here's the link. Send it to all your friends who want to see Hillbilly Elegy. There you go. That is crazy. Then invest in the company, yeah. And then blames his mom's addiction on illegal immigrants. Dude, she was a nurse stealing pills at work. How the fuck does that have anything to do with illegal immigrants? I should know better than anybody. My mom was addicted to these pain pills and heroin. Your mom was stealing them from work. Then he invests in the pharmaceutical business and makes tons of money off people that are addicted to pain pills. You know, the norm. So, that was great. Thank you very much. That's J.D. Vance's memoir. He wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy about how he's a hillbilly, or he'll always feel kind of like a hillbilly. Don't use the word redneck. We don't use that word. That's our word. But anyways, but he's also like in this like upper class. That's why he's changed his name, changed his look, went to Harvard. Like he can never get away from his past enough to feel like he fits in with, I don't know, Peter Thiel, I guess. I don't know. That's why he's getting injected like young people blood or whatever, trying to fit in with Peter Thiel and his friends. That is his book that he wrote about his story, and then they made it into a movie. long before he was going to be vice president. He wrote a book several years ago. They made the movie like 2 years ago or something. And it's bad. It's bad. Like his mom's like the grandma comes to like yell at the mom about like trying to kill him in the car, right? And the cops being called or whatever. She's like, you don't understand. That little lard ass doesn't know his fucking place. Like, his mom's so mean to him. That's why every time I retweet him, I'm like, no wonder your mom chose the pills over you. I really want it to stink. He was part of the production of the movie. He gave them the rights to make it or whatever. I think there was a story that we watched where he helped cast the grandmother because it basically like his grandma was in his life and he lived with her for a while because his mom was like a crackhead, and he helped cast the grandmother like because that was such like an important role or whatever in his story. Like he wanted a lady that had these types of qualities and looked like this or whatever. I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere, but yeah, the whole thing is crazy. Fucking poor little puffy cheek. He's always going to be a chubby 8th grader inside. So, that was amazing. Thank you for that. I've been thinking about, I think I'm going to start going live maybe during the day or earlier for the show, or maybe like don't do a show that night on TikTok and trying to talk and just putting up like, why did you vote for Trump? As we see the landscape change and Trump doing less and less of the things he promised, even though he claims he's doing them, he's not actually, we can see that he's not actually doing them. I think I want to talk without flipping the fuck out on these retards about why they voted for Trump while slowly interjecting like, oh, you voted for Trump for this reason. Well, do you think he's doing that because, you know, the data shows this or he's actually not doing that, or he's and trying to remain calm and do it. I've seen a bunch of other people do it. I thought one of the greatest things I could do, if I could find somebody, this guy has it nailed. I've been thinking about the right way to do this forever. And then this guy comes along and blows it out of the fucking park. So this guy starts a podcast. Sorry, I'm very gassy. I'm trying not to burp into the mic. I've been like had indigestion all day. Anyways, this guy is a left-leaning liberal guy. Nothing crazy. Not like a communist, socialist, or whatever. Just left-leaning. And his parents are like ardent Trump supporters, right? They are the Trump support. Trump does no wrong. They never disagree with Trump. Never nothing. And he has, what I thought about doing is there's this guy, if you guys have been watching the show long enough, there's this guy, I always comment on his posts about how he's lying, and he was like a local political figure. What I thought about doing is reaching out to him and seeing if he wanted to do a podcast once a week where I just ask him questions and what he thinks about those. Because it's hard to understand the mentality of these people that are seeing something not happen, but because Trump says it is happening, they're like, oh yeah, that's happening. There was just a guy on Twitter today that was arguing that there's no checks and balances in the system, that the judicial branch's powers aren't even mentioned in the Constitution, and that we should do away with it all. This guy. Federal judges or courts are not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution as having powers over the executive branch. But it's almost like we have like 77 fucking essays that tell us about the framers of the Constitution and what they wanted the Constitution to be and why. Like, it wasn't just like the Constitution was put in place. Like, they had to sell people on the Constitution. So they went through and said, this is what the Constitution is, this is what the Constitution. And if you go to the like Federalist Paper, I think it's 47. Federalist Paper 47 is literally the layout of the structures of power, and here's how this one checks that one. And that's the first time checks and balances is mentioned, like Federalist Paper 47. Like, it's all laid out for us. We don't have to guess. We don't have to say, I bet what they really wanted was only judges who agree with the president. Like, they lay it out. why one power shouldn't be here, and how these people can check each other, how they can balance the power between three branches. Like, it's all laid out. But people are now making the argument because the judges don't agree with their political person. So it's really hard to get into their mentality. Like, you're seeing Trump said this, he doesn't do this, but you're agreeing that he did it. Like, you can see that. Anyways, this guy started this podcast, and it's called The Necessary Conversation. You should check it out over on YouTube. He's probably bigger than I am now.
Appropriate
but
cancer card because you very much did.
It's called The Necessary Conversation. This is his TikTok channel. And basically, his parents are really big Trump supporters. So he started, I've got some clips from it, but he started this show to talk to his parents who are like super boomer, can't use a computer kind of thing. But he puts them on a podcast and asks them questions about the Trump thing. So this first clip is a question from a listener of their podcast, which is growing, The Necessary Conversation on YouTube. And basically, last week in their show, this guy tried to say, well, I had cancer, and then he was talking about cancer research. And his mom said, don't play the cancer card. But then later on in last week's show, they were talking about the little kid that had cancer at the State of the Union address and how she believes that people should stand up. Anyways, just watch this back and forth.
When is it appropriate to play the cancer card? Because you very much did say to me, don't play the cancer card when I was talking about myself having cancer and Trump cutting cancer research funding.
But you were using your cancer in regard to the kid, and it was like opposite. You were doing opposite. I don't even know how to explain it.
Opposite of what Trump wanted.
I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably shouldn't have. Your cancer was not only yours, it was all of ours. And you know that.
So you're playing my cancer card now.
So the mom is playing the cancer. You can't play the cancer card, but our family can play your cancer card.
It affected all of us.
Of course.
In regard to, I'm not, who was on medicine, who wasn't, okay? That's where I'm going.
I think I was on medicine.
I think that was a rude question, whoever said that anyway.
Okay. So you're the victim.
Then the dad goes on to say, isn't it weird that all these questions are from like 30-year-old females? And the host is like, what does that mean? He's like, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Like, this is a very good podcast. You just got to check it out. We'll watch some more clips. Here's some of his pinned videos.
Mom, is Donald Trump a cult leader? Are you in a cult?
No, I'm not in a cult. I want to make our country better than it has the last 4 years. We are in a terrible, terrible hole. I want to get out of it. I want to bring our country back the way it was.
Mom, is Donald Trump a cult leader? Are you in a cult?
No, I'm not in a cult. I want to make our country better than it has the last 4 years.
Dad, who started the war in Ukraine?
Zelensky started the war so that he could clean up.
Okay. How did he start it, Dad? I'm curious what you think. What was the first action he took to start the war?
He went and got all those missiles and shit.
I'm hearing a report that undocumented parents and one child was deported. That's not true. It was, well, I mean, it probably is true. But the news story coming out is the family with, I think they had multiple children. So there was one of them was recovering, a 10-year-old recovering from like brain damage or something. They have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old, 4 of whom were all U.S. citizens, were with them when they were arrested. The parents and the children were taken to the detention facility where they spent 24 hours before they were placed in a van and dropped on the Mexico side of a Texas bridge on February 4th. Like there's a bunch of these cases. Where the little girl that was recovering from like swollen fucking brain or some shit. The mother exclusively told NBC about her family's ordeal last week. She said it all began on February 3rd when they were rushing from Rio Grande Valley along Texas's southern border with Mexico, where they live, to Houston, where their daughter's specialist doctors are based for an emergency medical checkup. On the way there, they stopped at a stateside immigration checkpoint when they have passed through multiple times, and they have driven to Houston. The parents were equipped with letters from their doctors and lawyers to show the officers at the checkpoint to get through, but the letters weren't enough this time. Immigration authorities arrested the parents after they were unable to show legal immigration documentation, according to their attorney, Daniel Woodward. Other than lacking valid immigration status in the United States, the parents have no criminal history. He added the parents were in the process of obtaining T visas, a temporary immigration benefit for victims of human trafficking. 5 of their children, ages 15, 13, 10, 8, and 6, 4 of whom are U.S. citizens, were with them when they were arrested. The parents said the children were taken to a detention facility where they spent 24 hours before they were placed. So 4 of these were U.S. citizens dropped on the Mexico side of a Texas bridge. NBC News is not publishing the family members' names because they were deported to an area in Mexico that is known for kidnapping of U.S. citizens. Since the family was deported, the 10-year-old girl hasn't been able to get the follow-up care she needs. With swelling on her brain, she's not fully gone. Still not fully gone. She has difficulty with her speech and mobility on the right side of her body. Her mother said she was routinely checking in with doctors, monitoring her recovery, attending rehabilitation therapy sessions. So before, they could show medical paperwork like, hey, our daughter's getting treatment here. She's a U.S. citizen, and she's getting treatment here, so we're allowed to be here while our visas are processing, our T visas. And now it's not enough. Their 15-year-old son, who is also a U.S. citizen, and their 13-year-old daughter, who isn't, also have serious medical conditions. They both live with heart disorder known as long QT syndrome, which causes irregular heartbeats and can be life-threatening if it isn't treated well. The son wears a monitor and tracks his heart rate. The complaint alleges CBP's medical team knew it had custody of 3 children with complex medical records, one of whom was complaining of urgent and serious symptoms, 2 of whom were U.S. citizens. Still, CBP didn't transfer any of the children, in particular the 10-year-old girl, to a hospital or other medical care facility to obtain pediatric medical review as required by the Flores Settlement Agreement, which regulates how minors must be treated in federal immigration custody, the complaint said. Instead of giving her that care, CBP forced a child who still is recovering from brain surgery to sleep in a hot, dirty, brightly lit cell, the complaint reads. The complaint also outlines additional claims alleging that the children were inappropriately searched in detention, including the pat-downs of sensitive areas of their bodies, and that the parents were denied adequate access to their attorney. I think it come out. It's still updating, but I think it come out yesterday, day before. Anyways, back to this.
Dad, who started the war in Ukraine?
Zelensky started the war so that he could clean up.
Okay. How did he start it, Dad? I'm curious what you think. What was the first action he took to start the
I need to talk to somebody. If I'm going to do something like this, I need to talk to somebody that doesn't piss me off immediately. But, which I think he found something, like he's not going to be mean to his parents, right? Not overtly, or lose his shit. But it's nice to be able to look into their psyche, right? How do they do backwards limbo that Zelensky started the war when his country was invaded?
The war.
He went and got all those missiles and shit from the United States of America and prompted Moscow to defend itself.
By invading his country.
No, he had already started the invasion behind the curtain.
He started the invasion of his own country?
Yes. He doesn't give a shit about.
Wait a minute. How you're saying Zelensky, somehow conscripted Russian troops to invade his country?
No, he didn't conscript them. He set up the stage for Moscow to have to take action in order to stop him from. Hell, he was bombing the shit out of Moscow.
Okay.
Where the hell do you get your news?
Where do you get yours? And I know the answer. It's Newsmax. Dad?
Newsmax. Dad, is Amy Coney Barrett a DEI hire? This was actually surprising.
Dad, is Amy Coney Barrett a DEI hire?
No.
What?
No.
What?
No.
She was elected.
No, that's not right. That's not what happens with Supreme Court justices.
That just proves we don't agree with all our people all the time. You do.
Who are my people?
You got that crazy black woman that they put in the Supreme Court. That's one of yours.
Okay. So you support Amy Coney Barrett's decision then to go against Trump?
Sure.
So you're going against Trump now?
No. It's so frivolous, it's not even worth bringing up. I don't even know why it's a point.
Because this is the first thing that Trump has done that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and he got shut down by a person he appointed on the Supreme Court.
By the way, he is catching a lot of backlash. It says, like some of the comments say, I totally understand what you're trying to do here, but giving racists a platform of any kind isn't great. I can't imagine having to try to live with these people in my life. Please stop giving these horrible boomers a platform. We already know they're hateful, ignorant people. They'll never change. Then other people are like, this is just like my in-laws. It's good to see somebody talk through it. Completely devoid of facts and often just made up stuff.
Being a $200 billion deal, he wouldn't have got shut down.
Okay, so you think it's a monetary
Somebody says, yeah, I don't need to see any more of these. I don't see the point. Your dad is a racist, and sharing him with the world isn't helpful.
thing, and Amy Coney Barrett was like, well, it. This is only Supreme Court.
Being a $200 billion deal, he wouldn't have got shut down.
Okay, so you think it's a monetary thing, and Amy Coney Barrett was like, well, it. This is only $2 billion.
Pretty much.
Dad, is Amy...
You don't get to pick your parents, right? The best thing you can do is try to talk them to the other side.
Dad, you're a veteran. Do you think the government should be spending less money to take care of our veterans?
Yes. You don't need all those deadbeat at the VA who sat on their thumb.
Oh, by the way, we don't have to. Let's do this. So he does it in long format. You guys should go watch it sometime if you're interested. I'm interested in it. He does it in a longer format video. So if I go to history, I was just watching one. And they fully believe that everybody, I thought I was watching one. They fully believe that everybody that works for the necessary conversation, that everybody that works in the federal government that's being laid off are just lazy pieces of shit. Are just lazy pieces of shit. Like they don't show up, they don't do work, they don't do nothing. Let's see if I can back up to part of it.
And they'll all vote for it.
You think then George Soros personally sits down and writes an email or something and says, time to go, let's blow up some Tesla?
So at first, his parents thought that the people protesting at the Tesla dealership were people like them who don't like electric vehicles. But then they were told by somebody that Act Blue and George Soros fund the Tesla protesters.
Cocktail thrown through one of the windows of a Tesla dealership were reported at Tesla facilities in states like Colorado and Oregon. In response, Musk flexed his control over Trump to force him into hosting a promotional event on the White House South Lawn showcasing Tesla vehicles alongside Musk. During the event, Trump mispronounced Tesla, calling it Tesla, and selected a red Model S for himself. While the unprecedented presidential shilling saw a 7.6 rise in Tesla stock this week, it remains down nearly 50% from its mid-December highs. Mom, are you there?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm plugging it in.
So last week, you both said electric cars are not the way of the future, and you claimed that the reason for the stock tumbling and all this vandalism against his Tesla dealerships was simply because people don't like electric cars. Trump now is doing commercials for them. He loves them. So now, are you going to buy a Tesla?
No.
No, we never liked electric cars.
So you're against Trump on this?
Yes.
I guess we never liked electric cars.
He doesn't like electric cars either.
Okay. So do you think all this property
So Trump doesn't like electric cars either.
damaged someone through a Molotov cocktail through the window of one of his dealerships? Do you still think that that vandalism is because people don't like electric cars and has nothing to do with Musk?
I think that has
It
everything.
doesn't matter.
I think it has everything to do with who's paying them to protest. Who's paying those people to be out there to protest?
Georgie boy.
No.
Who?
Soros.
Okay.
There's some groups. One's called Act Blue of
Yeah.
bankrolling that are out there being paid to do that. Another one, there's
Who's
a
paying
Seattle
them?
organization.
So Act Blue is a group that you can just, like, let's say you don't know where the most pertinent place to put your money is. Act Blue is just a place that, let's say there's a race going on right now that you have nothing to know, you have no idea about in fucking Wisconsin. You just donate to Act Blue and they divvy it up. You can also earmark it, but it's just one central place where you can donate, and you can either earmark it or you can let them distribute the funds.
That's troublemaker or something. They're being paid to be out there. I've seen
Who's
the
paying
clips. Whoever those protest groups are.
She said, I've seen the clips.
Clips don't matter. I've seen clips of Donald Trump sucking Elon Musk's toes. Do you think that's real? I've seen the clips.
God. This is what I believe. That's
Right.
There you go.
Do you think that what you believe is actually true? Do you think there's any possibility that what you believe is not real?
No.
Sometimes I don't know. But today I believe that people are protesting at his places by paid groups, by paid individuals. We saw that with Soros during all that time too.
What time? The Soros times?
Oh God, today's not.
What are you oh-godding? I'm trying to get
BLM.
this. You believe that these protesters who are throwing Molotov cocktails through the windows of Tesla dealerships are paid by who?
George Soros and
Okay,
his
why-
PACs.
And his PACs?
Yeah, there's all kinds of organizations that he has set up, and he filters money
You say the same thing every time we talk anything about Tesla. We understand. We get it. We understand your point of view.
to all of them.
Check.
Okay.
Got it.
You think then George Soros personally sits down and writes an email or something and says, time to go, let's blow up some Tesla dealerships?
No, he funds their money, and they decide when to do it.
Okay.
There
and
is
so,
there's a democratic payment site where you can donate money. It's called Act Blue, and it bankrolls money into those protests,
They're paid protesters. You can argue that until you're blue in the face.
protest groups.
and let me ask you this, Mom and Dad. Do you think then that Soros is also paying people to dump their Tesla stock?
No, he doesn't have to.
Individuals, whatever.
It's okay that the stock
Well, I'm tired of fucking saying it. I've hit my limit.
went down.
50%?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you know most rich people, most billionaires and quadruple millionaires, they are rich, rich, rich at one point in their life. Then they hit bottom and they're not worth much. And then they go back up.
Okay. Well, he's still the richest man in the world, so.
Lots of billionaires bounce around to fucking penniless.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mom and Dad. Do you think it's okay for a president to do a commercial for a product made and owned by somebody heading a department trying to rid the government of fraud and waste? Do you think
How long before they bring up Joe Biden? Joe Biden drove a Jeep.
this is fraud and waste?
Sure.
I don't even know.
Every president we've had has done it.
I don't even
By the way, this is a Musk claim. Musk claimed that Act Blue was funding some of the money to protest his. He's going to claim anything, right? He's losing his ass.
know which commercial
Excuse
you're
me?
talking about.
Trump went on the White House lawn
Yeah.
and got in a Tesla and said, Teslas are great, buy a Tesla.
Joe Biden didn't drive a
A
car.
Jeep.
Huh?
You know what the difference is? He did one for Jeep. You know what the
yeah.
difference is?
No.
There
The
is-
president and CEO of Jeep wasn't running a government organization that
Yeah,
is
right.
slashing.
And they had a bunch of automakers there. Not all of them. Tesla wasn't there. Probably because they're big anti-union stance, right? The other ones are all part of the United Auto Workers.
Federal jobs every day.
Right.
No, they're slashing the fat in our
All right, here we go. Listen, this is the federal workers part I was looking for.
Running a government organization that is
Yeah, right.
slashing federal jobs every day.
Right.
No, they're slashing the fat in our government where people do nothing. They don't even come into the office.
But we literally have people showing up in Washington, D.C. with paperwork. They're a veteran, right? They're a disabled veteran. And they say, I worked for this department. They fired me because bad performance. Here's all of my performance reviews. They're all fucking stellar. And they couldn't even take the time to fill in my first and last name. It says, dear, first name, last name. Like, how can they see the evidence of these people saying I was fired, I'm a disabled veteran, I've never had a bad review, I worked for the government for 10 years, and be like, they're trimming the fat of people who don't show up to work.
Office
just let me
anymore.
ask you
Twiddle
this.
their thumbs. They're slashing the fat that needs to be gone.
Okay.
Now it's
You
funny
can't
when
really believe
Obama
that.
said this years ago.
You cannot really believe that.
It's funny when Obama
Oh, yes,
said
I
the
do believe-
exact
By the way, this is his sister up here, I think. I don't know. I haven't watched all the episodes.
Yeah.
same thing that our government is doing now, and that was okay. Everybody applauded him. But when Trump tries to slash
Stay
our
home,
government,
stick your thumb in your ass, and do nothing.
but when Trump tries to do it, it's a whole nother situation. Here, I got to put our court up and back.
What I'm asking, though, is Trump did a literal commercial for Elon Musk's company
Good.
using the White House as a
Means
prop for it.
nothing.
And you guys are okay with that?
Sure. I
You
hope
don't
he
see it
gets
as a
Good means nothing. You know that I was talking to a person the other day that was a park ranger that has been fired from their job, right? They were a park ranger, fired from their job. They can't, when a tourist comes up to them and says, hey, do you know of a good restaurant in town? They're not even allowed to recommend a restaurant that they would eat at because it's favoritism. But when the president brings one company in, mispronounce, I love Teslers. Isaac Neutron. No, good. That's what they should be doing.
5 or
Conflict of
10 more.
interest. Okay. All right, let's move on to our second topic. The government remains open this week. The U.S. Senate passed a Republican-led government funding bill, narrowly avoiding a partial federal shutdown. The bill reduces non-defense discretionary spending by approximately $13 billion compared to the previous fiscal year, while it increases defense spending by $6 billion. Among the services and departments targeted for those cuts are the USDA, which is going to lose $2
Here's my conspiracy theory of the week. I think that parts of the military are trying to get rid of black people. This is my conspiracy theory. They're trying to get rid of black people. And here's why. Hegseth ordered a review of all their policies, right? All their standards, to bring them up to where they should be. Okay? He says standards are too low. We've let them slip. So all these, we got to bring up even though we desperately need recruits for the military. He says that he wanted a rapid review of military standards for physical fitness, body composition, and grooming. Okay? Now, immediately, the Marine Corps went back on something they had in place. So, originally, they had in place. So, if we go all the way back to 2012, the Marine Corps had a directive in place saying that if you had some type of long-term condition that did not respond to treatments, right? So you basically had to have a waiver for it to be in the military, that commanding officers could get rid of you if it affected good order and discipline. Okay? Good order and discipline. Then in 2022, they took that away for no shave medical statuses. Okay? No shave. So we're one of the only armies in the world that still require clean shaven. And tons of military specialists, people who study the military, people who know about the military and recruiting and everything else, know that our recruitment would go up if we took this away. You can still have beard standards, but every other military in the world is not clean shaven, right? They can have a beard. They claim it's for gas masks, but somehow every other military in the world figures out how to do MBC with facial hair. We probably can too, right? So the Marine Corps, right after Hegseth issues this, comes out with a new directive, even though they said that the no shave directive wasn't part of this, you can get rid of people. They come out with a new directive and said that, I'm going to butcher this. Right now, all services grant shaving waivers to members diagnosed with pseudofolliculitis, pseudofolliculitis barbae, which is basically extremely, extremely, extremely bad razor burn. Okay? And it overwhelmingly affects black soldiers. So right now, if you go in, you start shaving every day, you have this medical condition that causes really bad razor burn every time you shave. It doesn't matter if you go with the grain, against the grain, use lotions or what, it doesn't matter. You still get this really bad razor burn that causes like outbreaks. It's not just like regular red bumps. It causes outbreaks on their face. Right now, every branch says that's fine. You can have a waiver. And what the waiver means is like you don't have to be perfect. You still have to keep it trimmed, but you don't have to be perfectly clean shaven, right? Because you can use an electric razor and not get razor burn. And that's still a higher standard than every other military in the world, which allows beards. But after Hegseth comes out and says, I want this all gone over. I want the standards for height and weight and dress and all this stuff, right? I want this redone. The Marine Corps comes out and issues a statement that says, troops diagnosed with this skin condition can now be separated from service, so kicked out, if an exception is needed longer than 1 year. But typically when you get this exception, which is overwhelmingly for black people, when you get this exception, it's forever, right? You're not going to get better. You're not just going to be able to suddenly shave, right? It doesn't get better. And literally they were the first one to answer Pete Hegseth, even though In 2012, they said, okay, well, you can kick somebody out if they have a lingering condition, if you need to, if it affects good order and discipline. Then in 2022, they said, hey, that doesn't include shaving profiles. We know that's an issue, especially with our black soldiers or black Marines. Then suddenly after this announcement on Wednesday, a few days later, the Marine Corps comes out and says this. It's even if they're not trying to get rid of black soldiers, even if I'm just being crazy thinking this way, that's what it's going to do effectively. Because for every white person that has this condition, there's probably 30 black guys that have this condition. And if you're shaving daily and it causes this outbreak, right? And then you shave over it again, it just cuts the shit off and you just fucking bleed. It's horrible. I wouldn't want to shave over and over again and just fucking bleed out. Like it's a horrible condition to have to shave every day for. But again, we're the only army in the world that takes this hardline stance against shaving. So even if it's not directed at black people, it's definitely going to cause a huge issue with black service members. A huge issue with black service members. Like 10 to 1, 30 to 1. It's going to be insane. It says, the Marine Corps has always taken a hardline stance on the issue. It says, we're Marines, we're different. We don't have beards, says General Eric Smith, the Marine Corps Commandant, told reporters in January. When it comes to this condition, that's a medical waiver, not a fashion waiver. But every other, like, I don't understand. Right, you don't have this condition. Anyways, It's going to overwhelmingly affect recruiting numbers. It's going to overwhelmingly affect black service members. It's going to be pretty fucking intense for black service members. A ton of them have this. What is this clip?
This weekend, several protests have been erupting across the U.S., including in our area. They're all focusing against President Donald Trump's policy changes and Elon Musk's Doge, which has helped defund several government programs. Now, in Delray Beach, dozens gathered outside a Tesla dealership to voice their opposition against billionaire Elon Musk.
It might just be a protest clip. I don't know why it popped up.
Movement, encouraging shareholders to dump their stock and join the picket lines. It started around 11 a.m. outside the Tesla Service Center on South Federal Highway. Protesters held signs voicing their frustration.
Hey, we're just here today, rallying against Elon and what he's done, and it hasn't been so good in recent times with Elon. Ever since Trump's been in, it's more been about Musk than Trump, really. And I think there's been stuff going on today in Fort Lauderdale and other places where we're just showing our frustration of what's going on right now.
The protest follows dozens of others from across our state, including in Tallahassee. Dozens gathered outside the state capitol yesterday afternoon, showing their anger for President Trump's defunding of several scientific programs. Elon Musk responding on his social media site X, placing the blame.
Oh, here it is. It's because it's his quote. It's Elon Musk's quote. An investigation has found 5 Act Blue funded groups responsible for Tesla's protests: the Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, Invisible Project, and Democratic Socialists of America.
Democratic organization Act Blue as responsible for the protests. He blames other organizations within Act Blue, like Seattle organization Troublemakers and the Disruption Project. And if you were at the protest, we want you to chime in. You can send the latest picture.
Anyways, there you go. I think the shaving profile thing is going to overwhelmingly affect black soldiers, which is sad. Like, we need the numbers. Yeah, we need the fucking numbers. We're going to need it, especially when China invades Taiwan. We're going to need bodies, if nothing else. And the fact that we can't get over this, tons of people are like, our recruiting numbers would jump by 30, 40% if we just do away with the fucking daily shaving. Like, have anything else so where you can have like a light beard, a short beard, something. But no, they won't. They won't budge off of it. I think, let's see. Here's a good story. One of the roads here locally was rebuilt, and they did a little news segment, or almost like a propaganda segment on it. This is Baker Construction rebuilding State Route 81 from Irwin to Jonesboro.
Back in September when Hurricane Helene come through, Highway 81 between Irwin and Jonesboro was completely washed out.
There's some pretty wild footage in here. Hold on. I'll make it bigger. Of what happened. The road was just gone. There's where it just ends. Like, all this is undercut and unsafe, but there were portions of it that were just gone. We call this the River Road. It's basically like if you can't take this road and you're going just like down here, it turns a 10-minute drive into like a 50-minute drive at least. Like, it's a big time saver. And it's been gone since Helene. They just got it open now.
I'm Roger Carmelo. I'm a grade superintendent for Baker's Construction Services. I've been doing this for 41 years.
There was no bed. There was no nothing. They had to build out, basically back out into the river.
It's what I know and love. When we first got on site, the road was completely washed. There was nothing but debris, big boulders in the bottom. It was impassable. And for people on the Jonesboro side to get to Irwin, it was a 45-minute round trip, which used to take minutes before. So it's a pretty important little cut across the road. First object was to establish a way to the bottom, where we could confirm a good base, find the toe of the slope. Things the toe was out in the river. So we had to build our way out there, establish a toe, then just clear us a path through. So we established a ramp off there, started hauling our GSR material, which consists of 1 to 3 foot rocks, started placing it in lifts. Our average fill was probably 14 to 15 foot.
The average fill of this GSR, which is 1 foot to 4 foot rocks, or whatever he said, was probably 15 feet. The average fill. And this road is, I don't know, 3 miles down through here.
Placed about 35,000 ton of GSR, which is graded solid rock. I'd say the material is anywhere from 1 to 3 foot on this whole project. So it went from river's edge to top of grade. It's a lot of rock in here. At one time we were having anywhere from 16 to 20 trucks hauling in here, which is a task of itself. Things that were just one way in, one way out on a washed out road. So to keep the trucks moving and keep progressing forward, we ended up constructing several turnaround spots that later in the project had to be removed. And that was the only way to keep the trucks moving, keep them passing each other, keep the material steadily coming in. I'd said one way in, one way out. So
it's a big job, nothing else.
We turned around and started placing all of our storm drain in, which one of them consists of a big 60-inch culvert pipe and box, other road crossing.
There's a couple creeks. You can see one right there. There's a couple creeks that have to go under this road as well. They've always come down this mountain, and they have to be popped out somehow.
So once we got all that in, then it was fine grading time, man. Got a good sub-base established, laid fabric on that, and then started placing our grade D base stone. We used one of our GPS motor graders with our UTS system on it to fine grade it. The base is 12 inches thick with the center crown in the road, and once that grade was established, Summers come in with their paving crew and sprayed tack on the base. They had 2 base courses.
Summers and Taylor's is the company my dad worked for 21 years or whatever. That's this paving company here.
There's a binder, 3 inches and 2 inches, then our surface course, which is the surface that everybody drives on. Once we had all that, guardrail was constructed, shoulder stone placed, and just getting ready for pavement markings and get her opened up.
It just recently opened a couple days ago. It was a big news on local Facebook. It's a big fucking job.
This job was a challenge from day one. It took lots of planning, lots of good people. The guys I've got, I said we've been together for a little while, so we kind of all knew what we were doing and which direction we had to head. And, some of them were young guys, never done this before, but everybody stepped up and we got it done.
So there you go. 81's back, Owen. That was a feel-good story. Here's a funnier story. Make you feel a little bit better before we go into some horrible shit that's going on. Local rivalries. This isn't local to me, but it's still funny.
It does not get any more small town than tonight's top story. If you're from Wisconsin, you're probably familiar with the Spooner Blows Bridge that runs along Highway 63.
So there's a bridge that says Spooner Blows, and it is a rivalry between two schools. One of them obviously being Spooner, And I can't remember the name of the other one, but Spooner Blows.
Many view it as a national landmark and possibly the eighth wonder of the world. And this bridge is significant because of a small town rivalry between the Hayward Hurricanes and the Spooner Rails. Now, this small town rivalry has seemingly been going on forever athletically, but it's recently extended to McDonald's. Yes.
The Battle of the Chicken McNuggets. Now, this made their local paper. The Battle of the Chicken McNuggets, where one team, the Spooner team, went to the other team's local McDonald's and ate a shit ton of nuggets and then said, bet you can't beat that.
McNuggets.
This is how we drum up the economy, by the way.
According to the Storer County Record, it all started when Spooner players came to Hayward's McDonald's and ate 1,400 chicken McNuggets and said that Hayward couldn't beat that on Instagram. Now,
1,400 nuggets. And then posted an Instagram story saying, suck it, Hayward. You can't eat more nuggets than we can.
Not to be outdone at their home at McDonald's, the Hayward students rallied and got around 75 to 80 students together at the McDonald's to try to defeat Spooner's tally of 1,400. May the good Lord have blessed their home plumbing systems because the Hayward students ate 3,200 chicken McNuggets.
They ate 3,200 nuggets. Not only that, but they gave out first, second, and third place awards for the most nuggets eaten.
Between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8
By the way, I got 2 kids that could eat 1,400 nuggets in a few hours.
p.m. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the top eaters for the night, the first place finisher was Evan McConnell with 81 McNuggets, followed by Darren Clifford in second place with 80 nuggets. And then both Victor Ink and Robert Schulte came in third place with 75 McNuggets.
Right? That's pretty good, right? 81, 80 for second place, and a tie for third place with 75 nuggets.
And to cap off the evening after their victory,
they actually called the McDonald's ahead and said, hey, we're coming to do this. We just want to let you know ahead of time so you have nuggets ready, and we're paying for them. So I don't know what would poor McDonald's employees. To cap it off, they took their nugget boxes in the lobby and spelled out Spooner Blows, the same as the bridge.
The Hayward students placed their McNuggets boxes to resemble the Spooner Blows bridge. Now, for those of you wondering, the Hayward students did call the McDonald's ahead of time to let them know that there was going to be a mass influx of students coming to eat a boatload of McNuggets. In other Midwest news, it does not get any more.
There's nothing more small town than that. That was a pretty good story. Local paper picked it up. Not bad. Not bad indeed. These other stories are just so horrible to even look at. Let's see. Hold on, I got to relaunch a program. They went on my links, of course. Nick Fuentes made a statement. You know him, you love him. He's your local neo-Nazi, Nick Fuentes.
I hate to admit it, liberals were right fundamentally about Trump. Whether he has good intentions or bad intentions, whether he means well or not, some people blame his advisors, some people blame people around him. Whatever you think about his culpability, he is in effect, okay, maybe not consciously or intentionally, but in effect, what he is a demagogue. What he is a populist demagogue. And directionally, what liberals said about him, which is that he was stirring up the rubes, animating the rubes with nativist rhetoric and ginning up resentment against the system to empower himself and the people around him, and then brought the swamp closer to the periphery in his first and second administration, willing to say and do anything. Yeah, that all kind of turned out to be true. Yeah, that basically turned out to be true. I hate to admit it, liberals were right.
There you go. Nick Fuentes. Never think you'd get a take like that from Nick Fuentes, but at least he's standing by it, I guess. Imagine a country where journalism students are told to purge their social media accounts. Because if they post something that the government doesn't agree with, then the government's going to come arrest them. And how the fuck did that become America?
Listen to this. If you have a social media page, make sure it is not filled with commentary on the Middle East. And when a Palestinian student objected, the dean of the journalism school, a man called Jelani Cobb, stood up and said to the entire student body, nobody can protect you.
If you have social media that doesn't agree with the government, delete it. When a student stood up and ejected, the dean said, nobody can protect you. We're just trying to help you.
These are dangerous times. That's journalism students at Columbia University in the United States being told to avoid posting, publishing, writing anything that might upset the current administration in the United States of America, and being told by their own dean, the dean of their school, nobody can protect you. These are dangerous times. And J.D. Vance stands up in Munich and claims that our freedom of speech is somehow under threat. Listen to this.
That's wild, dude. That's why, and there's so many people like, yeah, fuck those people. They can't say stuff that is against Israel. This one's just kind of informative here. This is about Haiti fraud.
Elon and Doge found massive fraud today.
All right, and with apologies to Dan McClellan, let's see it.
Imagine $4.4 billion spent to help Haiti recover, and all you get out of it is 6 houses.
Okay, to be fair, this is not going to be a fair fight.
This had nothing to do with Doge, by the way.
My name's Jonathan Katz. I'm a reporter and an author, and I'm one of the world's leading experts on post-earthquake aid to Haiti after the 2010 earthquake. I was the Associated Press bureau chief in Port-au-Prince when the earthquake struck. I survived the earthquake myself, and then I wrote a book investigating all of this. It was called The Big Truck That Went By, How the World Came to Save Haiti and Left Behind a Disaster. The very first thing that he says here is a complete lie, just a total lie. None of this is discovered by Doge. None of this is discovered by Elon Musk. They have made absolutely no headway in this story whatsoever. He seems to admit that himself when he goes on to say that this isn't information that came from Doge. It's from...
That's the bombshell from a New York Post expose on U.S. AIDS.
A New York Post expose. Why the fuck would you accredit it to Doge? Doge found some fraud today. This come from the New York Post expose. What? Those are not the same.
AIDS Haiti efforts. 130,000 homes were supposed to be developed with that money. Only 6 were developed.
So, like I said, this guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. What he's doing is he's mixing up a couple of different things, right? You've got the overall spending on aid to Haiti after the earthquake. He uses this number, $4.4 billion. There's different numbers floating out there. Most likely in terms of spending from the United States overall was about $2.3 billion. But the 6 houses thing, that's a totally separate thing. That comes from an article that was in ProPublica, the media organization, in 2015, 10 years ago. And it wasn't about U.S. government spending at all. This was about spending from the American Red Cross, which is private money, right? For the most part, that is money that just people donated to the American Red Cross. And the claim in that article wasn't that, first of all, the American Red Cross's spending there was about $500 million, so far less than like the quote-unquote $4.4 billion he's talking about. And what the claim in that article was not that all the American Cross did was buy 6 houses. What the claim in that article was that the American Red Cross didn't engage in durable reconstruction for lots of homes. That a small part of that $500 million was supposed to be spent on shelter for 130,000 people, not 130,000 houses, but shelter for 130,000 people. And that instead, most of that money was spent on things like tarps and short-term housing solutions and not permanent housing. And that only 6 houses were ever built. 6 permanent houses were ever built, which obviously was a huge problem. I actually helped them with that article. I know a lot about that article. I remember it very clearly, but it's a very different claim. He is claiming here that the U.S. government government spent billions of dollars and only built 6 houses. That is completely false. That is totally made up.
DC firms pocketed 56% of the contracts while Haitian companies got a measly 2%.
Now, this is a really good point, except it's not making the point that he wants it to make. The truth is that very little of the money that was spent in the aftermath of the earthquake went to the Haitian government or Haitian companies on the ground. That is absolutely true. That was a big problem. It was a big reason why there wasn't more durable reconstruction that happened after the earthquake. It's a huge reason why the money that was spent in the aftermath of the earthquake didn't help Haiti's economy. But the reason why things like that happen is because reactionaries, right-wingers like Elon Musk and probably this guy, don't want money to go to other countries. They want money to be spent within the United States. They want foreign aid to be spent within the United States. And it doesn't work. It doesn't help people. I mean, that's absolutely true. That was a huge part of my book. That was a big part of the argument that I've spent many years making. But if this guy wants that to change, then what he should be doing, what Doge should be doing, is supporting direct budget assistance to foreign governments, money actually going to foreigners, which is, of course, the opposite of what they want. What they want is just people to not trust institutions and just not trust foreign aid at all, so that the whole thing grinds to a halt. That's what they want. They don't.
Yes, no trust for foreign aid in any way, shape, or form. That way we'll be more apt to never send foreign aid to anybody.
Want better foreign aid. They don't want better recovery from disasters like the earthquake. They want no help whatsoever.
Out of 196 NGOs, only 8 could explain where the money went.
And that's another bit of cherry-picked stuff that this guy's throwing in there. This was a study. This was also over 10 years ago.
It was some guy trying to study this and call these people, and some of them didn't respond.
And it wasn't that, it was just a small survey sent out by this one guy to a bunch of NGOs, and those were the NGOs that got back to him. Only 8 NGOs got back to him. That's what that was. Now, again, there's a lack of transparency. I agree with that. I spent a lot of time uncovering where the money actually went and all the problems that were intrinsic to the post-earthquake recovery. But this isn't an example of that. This is just a different thing.
They're calling it a scam.
Who is they? Who is that? You're calling it a scam. Just put your full body behind it. If you're going to make accusations like this, you should make these accusations, but you should actually learn how to do your own research. People are always talking about do your own research. You should try that, or better yet, listen to people who actually know how to do this research as they try to explain it to you.
Billions spent and nothing built, and the people of Haiti left with crumbs as the outsiders cashed in.
And this just isn't true. Billions were spent, but not billions of dollars for reconstruction. Most of the money that was spent on things like, again, tarps, food, hygiene kits, short-term aid that didn't put Haiti in a position to recover fully from the earthquake. That is absolutely true, but it's because that aid was mislabeled. That aid was misrepresented to the world, and especially to people in Haiti. And one piece of this that I talk about in my book a lot is that a lot of the money that Haitians thought was coming never came because it was pledged by foreign governments and not delivered. And the reason, in the case of the United States, why those promises were not fulfilled was because primarily reactionaries, right-wingers, people like current MAGA folks, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, that type of people didn't want the money to go to Haiti at all in any form. And that is the big reason, or one of the big reasons, why Haiti didn't recover from the earthquake. The more you know.
Elon and Doge found massive fraud today?
Elon and Doge found massive fraud today. Of course they didn't. I don't think they found massive fraud yet. They found programs they don't like. They've lied about the contracts that they've canceled. Some of them already been canceled. Some of them already paid out. They've lied about a ton of this stuff. I don't think they found massive fraud yet. I haven't seen it.
For the better part of a century, Voice of America has broadcast into countries whose government censored free information. That mission continued with agencies such as Radio Free Europe.
They use shortwave radio to broadcast into countries that censor free information, free speech, and information from outside.
And Radio Free Asia. But now the Trump administration has dismantled VOA's parent organization, put all of its employees on leave, and ended federal funding for independent media agencies. Nick Schifrin reports on a decision that ends a long bipartisan tradition.
The Courier, a ship without guns, goes into battle armed with the greatest weapon of all, truth.
For more than 80 years, the U.S. government believed government-funded information supported freedom and democracy.
This is a voice speaking from America.
That began with Voice of America, which beamed its first broadcast in 1942.
The news may be good or bad. We shall tell you the truth.
My name is Ronald Reagan. This powerful 135,000-watt Radio Free Europe transmitter pierces the Iron Curtain with the truth.
It expanded with Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty, funded by Congress, first run by the CIA, part of a, quote, crusade for freedom. In the 1980s, the geography expanded. Radio Marti, today the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, reached into communist Cuba. Radio Free Asia began in the 1990s to reach over China's Great Firewall and across the region. And when U.S. government information started being blocked by adversaries' technology,
and citizens around the world are being tortured, imprisoned, and even killed for their online speech.
VOA's digital descendant, the Open Technology.
All the dictators of the world couldn't shut it down, but Trump did.
Fund created its own technology so freedom fighters could communicate and spread the truth. But since his first administration, President Trump has targeted VOA.
And if you heard what's coming out of the Voice of America, it's disgusting.
And on Friday night, released an executive order eliminating parent company, U.S. Agency for Global Media. This is the video that is now on loop for Voice of America, and all staff have been put on leave.
15 transgender women who were apprehended by Border Patrol agents.
The White House singled out this and other VOA stories as evidence VOA had become, quote, radical propaganda. And it highlighted these external publications and quoted a former employee calling VOA a hubris-filled rogue operation, often reflecting a leftist bias. And separately, the independent agencies, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, Middle East Broadcasting Networks, and the Open Technology Fund all had their federal funding ended.
Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty is a foreign policy tool. It is furthering U.S. national security interests. And look, you get a lot of bang for your buck.
Lisa Curtis is the chair of the board of Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and a former senior director on President Trump's first National Security Council staff.
While it's understandable that President Trump wants to, cut down on government waste and fraud, I think this is the wrong organization to be attacking. Russia, Iran, China, these countries are spending billions in their own propaganda, their own anti-American propaganda. So I think it's critical that the U.S. government is supporting organizations like RFERL that are pushing back against that disinformation, misinformation.
And she says RFERL's content reaches more than 10% of Iranians, many of whom have protested the regime.
So I think it really is part of U.S. soft power, but they actually call it the hard edge of soft power because it is so effective in getting out the truth about America, about what's happening in their local environments, and this is absolutely critical.
Curtis said she considers the freeze in their funding illegal because the money is congressionally appropriated and RFERL's mission is congressionally mandated, and they will sue the Trump administration to get it restored. To discuss this, I turn to Mike Abramovitz, who since last year has been the president of Voice of America, and before that was the president of Freedom House. Mike Abramovitz, thanks very much. Welcome back to the NewsHour. As you heard, President Trump in his statement on Friday night referred to VOA as a radical propaganda with a liberal bias. Is it?
I don't think so. I do think that people at many different news organizations have been accused of bias on both right and left, like many different news organizations. VOA is not perfect, but we're unusual among news organizations because we are one of the few news organizations that by law has to be fair and balanced. Every year, we look at each of our language services, review it for fairness, for balance. You know, I've been a journalist or in this field for a long time, and I think the journalists at VOA stand up very well against people from CNN, Fox, New York Times, et cetera, in terms of the commitment to balance. When we do talk shows, for instance, broadcasting into Iran, we will have Republicans, we'll have Democrats. We are presenting the full spectrum of American political opinion, which is required by our charter.
You've heard from other administration officials or allies of the president. Rick Grenell is a special envoy, called it, quote, a relic of the past. We don't need government-paid media outlets. Elon Musk says shut them down. Nobody listens to them anymore. Fundamentally, why do you believe taxpayers should pay for VOA journalism?
You know, the media is changing, the world is changing, and the Cold War doesn't exist anymore. But what is happening around the world is that there is a huge really battle over information. The world is awash in propaganda and lies, and our adversaries like Russia and China, Iran, are really spreading narratives that directly undermine, accurate views about America, and we have to fight back. And VOA in particular has been an incredible asset for fighting back by providing objective news and information in the languages, in 48 languages that people in the local markets we serve. No other news organization does that.
Let me ask a little bit about the status of the agency. You and every employee.
So when we're talking about media bias, Ad Fontes does this media bias chart where they review the stories that are written about. So let me take down the chat for a second. Hold on. It's taking a second to refresh. Okay. All right. So on this chart, you have political bias down at the bottom. So this is dead center, right? This is dead center at zero political bias. You have far left stuff like the Jimmy Dore Show, the New Abnormal, the Young Turks. You have far right stuff like Alex Jones, It's Behind My Head, Steven Crowder, OAM, Timcast, all of these media bias. And then on this chart also from top to bottom, so starting down here on this axis and going up, is how reliable they are. So when they look into their stories, when they make a claim, how reliable is that information? Not is it left or is it right? Is it true? Right? So these are all the companies that they do across the spectrum from left to right. And if you take all these points that are plotted and you type in something like Voice of America, where do you think it's going to line up on the chart? some of the highest reliability, news value and reliability, and pretty damn near in the middle, right? They're a little bit, I think they're negative 3.2 or something left-leaning. But you don't get better than that. Like that's fucking crazy on the reliability scale and on the political bias. Like you have Crowder and Alex Jones over here at positive 30. You have the Jimmy Dore show and the Young Turks over here at negative 30. They're at negative 3 and some of the highest reliability. Let's add in the Young Turks. All the way over here, right? Let's add in Stephen Crowder. It's probably louder with Crowder. Yeah. It's going to be behind my head, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. Way over here behind my head. I guess I go this way. Way over here behind my head. It's not that it is in the box. Well, the box means that it's a reliable, unbiased source. Anything that falls in this box. And I think everything it does falls in this box. Is this one? There's one that doesn't fall in the box. It says South Central Asia ordered Trump, U.S. down 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. There's one news story that doesn't fall inside the box. I don't think the Young Turks have, or Louder with Crowder have any that fall inside the box. Not to mention the reliability and news value of Steven Crowder isn't even above the threshold. I don't know. It's just insane that this is what he goes after. And it's because it's the only one he can affect the way he does, right? He can't go and just shut down NBC. He can't go shut down CNN. He can't pull all the funding from Fox News because they called Arizona for Biden. But he can Voice of America.
You were put on leave over the weekend. Today, all contractors have been terminated. Do you have any notion of what the goal is from the administration? Is it to reform VOA, or is it simply to destroy it?
Candidly, I don't know. Ms. Kari Lake, who is supposed to be my successor at some point, she's given some interviews, and I think she clearly recognizes in those interviews that VOA serves an important purpose. I think there are a lot of Republicans in particular, especially on the Hill, who recognize the value of Voice of America, who recognize that if we shut down, for instance, our program on Iran, which is really an incredible newsroom, we have 100 journalists, most of whom speak Farsi, has a huge...
The North Korean state news.
Iran, when the president of Iran, when his helicopter went down over the summer, there was a huge spike in traffic on the VOA website because the people of Iran knew that they could not get accurate information on what was going on, so they came to VOA to get it. That's the kind of thing that we can do.
I want to point out, we heard from Lisa Curtis, the chair of the board of Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Voice of America, and the Cuba Broadcasting, previously known as Radio Martin. We've got a graphic to show this. Those are fully federal networks. What RFERL is talking about, they are a grantee. They get a grant from the U.S. government. RFERL will sue. Does VOA have any recourse today?
Well, I think we are... I mean, there's a lot of discussion about some lawsuits that different parties are making. I know that the employees, may be thinking about that. I'm not sure that litigation in the end is going to be the most productive way. Maybe, I mean, we have to see what happens. But I think what would be really great is if Congress and the administration get together, recognize that this is a very important service, recognize that it's sorely needed in a world in which our adversaries...
And this is, I think, almost unilaterally, this has been bipartisan supported. Almost unilaterally. I don't ever remember like multiple members of a party coming up and saying, oh, the Voice of America needs to be shut down. I'm sure there's been one or two, but there hasn't been this big movement to shut it down. Just Trump doing Trump things.
Spending billions of dollars, like Lisa said, and reformulate VOA to be effective for the modern age.
And finally, what's the impact of this decision and the language that we've heard from the Trump administration on the very idea that information, that journalism sponsored by the U.S. government can support freedom and democracy?
We've been on the air essentially for 83 years. Through war, 9/11, government shutdown, VOA has kept
has kept the lights on, has not been silent. So we're silenced for the first time in 83 years. That's devastating. To me personally, it's devastating to the staff. It's dedicated to all the thousands of people who used to work at VOA. I mean, this is a very special and unique news organization. It deserves to live. Doesn't mean we can't reform, but it deserves to survive.
Michael Bronovitz, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
My medication, it runs $20,000 a month without insurance. I make $800 a month.
This is from More Perfect Union.
Oh, that will kill me. That would kill my friends. That would kill millions of people in this country if they lose their health care.
We're in California's District 22, a rural community in the state's Central Valley. This district voted for Trump for the first time in 2024, but now his policies threaten one of the benefits people here rely on the most.
It bothers me when people like Elon Musk say that people on those programs are the parasite class. It's just cruel.
Do you know anyone personally who voted for President Trump but depends on benefits like Medicaid?
Oh yeah, I know a lot of people.
Trump promised a lot of things. I thought it would be more family values and those programs that really need here.
One of those promises was to protect Medicaid, which 67% of people in this district rely on. It's the largest percentage of any district in the entire country.
Can you guarantee that Medicare and Medicaid will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times that we're not going to touch it.
But his administration just proposed an $880 billion cut to Medicaid over the next 10 years.
And it's impossible to get to that cut without touching Medicare, even if they eliminated everything else that's underneath that agency. They would still have like $600 billion they have to take from either Medicaid or Medicare. That's all that's left.
We wanted to come here to find out how people are feeling about Trump and his administration's decision that could have a huge impact on one of the benefits they rely on the most. One resident who would be impacted by Medicaid cuts is 64-year-old Irma Arredondo, who voted for Trump in 2024. Irma has several chronic health issues, including type 1 diabetes. She's also a full-time caregiver for her daughter, who has cerebral palsy, and her sister.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about it's hard to remember a time before Obamacare, but I remember one of my first jobs I ever had. There was this guy, and he was like the assistant manager, I think. His name was Frank, and he fucking hated his job. He fucking hated his job. Like, hated it so much. Every time you talked to him that it wasn't like about business, we were just he fucking hated his job. And when I was just young and dumb, right? It was like one of my first jobs out of high school. And when I'd ask him about it, he and his wife had medical conditions. He's like, I'll never be able to leave here, right? I'll never be able to leave here because we got insurance here. And if I go to another job and I have to start paying $4,000 a month for my prescriptions because I can't get pre-existing conditions, like, that's fucking huge. When people are talking about not just Medicaid and Medicare, but when they're talking about Obamacare, do people not... I was just in the workforce for a few years before this happened. But surely older people remember that. Are they just ignoring it? There used to be a time that you were stuck to a fucking job if you had insurance through it, because if you left, it would destroy your fucking life. Even if you went to a better job, if you couldn't afford to pay your own medical medical insurance, if they'd even give you insurance.
Who has Turner syndrome.
Valerie have her medication for her seizures. She needs care of everything. And I just give massage to her hands, to her legs. I stay with her until she falls asleep.
It sounds like you take really good care of her.
Oh, and my baby is my dog.
So you, your sister Irene, and your daughter Valerie, you're all on Medicaid. And how important is Medicaid for your family?
Can you imagine? We live on a daily basis with sicknesses. This is for the cholesterol too. This is also for my blood pressure.
So Medicaid pays for all of it?
Yes.
If you didn't have Medicaid, how much would this cost you? How much money?
Oh, thousands maybe.
Thousands? And that's just for you?
That's for me.
Not for your daughter? Not for your sister?
No, the medicine that my daughter takes for seizures, I won't be able to afford it. So we feel hopeless if those cuts come, you know. What we're going to do.
Irma was a farm worker for more than a decade. She believes that some of her and her children's health issues can be linked to the pesticides she was exposed to while working in the fields.
When I was pregnant with my child, I was working in the field. I remember it was this little airplane and sprayed us. But when my baby born, the doctor just said, oh, something's missing. And when he gave me my baby don't have her arm.
I understand why. I didn't know about it because I was young. Most of the time I turned down insurance because I was like young and healthy. I was a college athlete, right? Like, and I'm like, fuck, I'm probably gonna get sick for years, right? But other people were locked into it, like hardcore, with like lifelong illnesses that they wouldn't get any coverage for if they went somewhere else.
So with these risks that you and your community face in agriculture, and then to have the system threaten to take away your health insurance, to take away protection, how does it make you feel?
Like I told you, I feel like this tapping us in the back, you know, but why when we put food on their tables, you know, that we risk our health. Look at me right now. Look at me how many sicknesses that I have. The COPD, I didn't have COPD at the time. We got all in the fields. Where else?
We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board.
The $880 billion in Medicaid cuts proposed in President Trump's budget will help pay to permanently extend his 2017 tax cuts.
The largest tax breaks would go to the wealthiest individuals. Are those your values?
No.
I saw somebody on I think they have some type of weird, like amnesia or some shit. I saw somebody on TikTok arguing that they like Trump's first tax plan, and they've always got a tax refund. But under Joe Biden for 4 years, they didn't know anybody who got a single tax refund. There's no fucking way, dude. There was a time they were mailing out checks every 3 months. Like, well, how do you forget these things? What are you talking about?
Es la verdad. ¿Por qué van a hacer tanto recorte? Sí, tanto recorte. ¿En dónde lo van a poner ese dinero? ¿Dónde?
In the last election, who did you vote for?
I feel embarrassed to tell you, but before all the years back, since I got my citizenship, I said I was a Democrat. But then, in these last elections, I voted as a Republican. Why? Because I'm against abortion. Para mí la palabra conservador.
Because I'm against abortion. Then don't fucking get one. If somehow your dried up, fucking dusty, prune-ass looking ovaries spawn life, don't fucking get one.
Es tener valores. I grew up with values, you know, con las enseñanzas de mis padres.
Family values.
Family values.
Irma isn't the only one in District 22 who feels betrayed by the administration's plan to cut Medicaid.
The only people they're hurting are those poor people that really need the stuff. Elon Musk doesn't need it. Trump doesn't.
I don't think there's ever been a time, maybe in COVID. COVID was one of the largest transfers of wealth from like the lower middle class to the upper class. But as far as like policies you can put out where people's actually stealing from the poor to pay the rich, it's fucking Robin Hood, dude. And people are like, nah, I don't know. They create jobs. And I can't believe all these people on Medicaid just sitting around not doing anything. I don't know what your one anecdote is, but if you filed the exact same way, you were still under Trump's tax breaks. They don't even expire till next year. Or this year.
You know, billionaires don't need it.
They're making out big time with this, but they're hurting people in the process.
District 22's representative is David Valadeo, a Republican who voted in favor of the budget resolution to cut Medicaid after initially voicing concerns about how potential cuts to social programs could affect his constituents. If just 2 Republicans vote no on the final legislation, they could stop Medicaid from being cut.
The folks in this district have voted for him because he, in the past, has been able to stand up against his party. But now he's really stuck between a rock and a hard place because it seems as if the Trump administration is going to really ask for loyalty from him and for him to play ball on every single issue, not just the issues that play well in this district. And so that might mean that they expect him to vote for things that are going to hurt his constituents directly.
If we could go back to November, who would you vote for now, seeing what you see?
The reason they're trying to extend Trump's tax cuts is because this is the year they expire.
You just wouldn't have voted.
Not either.
Nothing changed except expanding an earned income tax credit.
Very sad that there's no political leadership that you feel you can vote for.
Maybe, you know, they can, like you said, Democrats or Republican. Maybe they have, I'm not going to say that everything is bad, but the most important things. But the only good things is for them. To us, always going to be the good things. You know?
You feel that way? It's always going to be the bad things for you.
Yeah.
You voted for it, lady. Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get more perfect union in your feed. And if you have any ideas for stories that you would like for us to investigate, just drop them in the comments below.
Mariah says I gotta go home early. We got court in the morning, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Support the show at coldbeer.fund if you want to. If you don't, fuck you too. I'm out of here for the night. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is.
Yeah, individual income tax changed to the standard deduction, which is what Trump did, expired this year. So, like, even the last taxes you filed were under Trump's thing.
Get the place in the best, you know that.
But the business tax, I think, doesn't expire until 2028.
Ain't seen none yet. Something
like that.
I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6 cents for the stupid shit.
That's why they're trying to extend them this year, but it'll add a shit ton of debt, which they claim they're trying to take down. Who the fuck knows? Is it too late to be hit by a meteor?
This chest like he's King Kong, starving for attention. I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard.
Think about really visualize it.
Towers, cause you told him if he did, he get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think.
Oh, by the way, stop the fucking music. I was today years old when I found out that Elon Musk has claimed 8-year-olds are getting SBA loans, small business administration loans. How did he find this? He says he found it through the Social Security system. Why is that impossible? Because SBA stands for Survivors Benefits. These are 8 and 5 and 6 and 11-year-olds that are getting Social Security benefits because their parents died and they're minors. Not Small Business Association. It's Survivors Benefits. This is the guy that's running the fucking country. He thought when he logged into the Social Security Administration computer, it told him small business loans. It's survivor benefits. So if your parents receiving Social Security disability and they die before you reach 18, you get a portion of that to raise yourself. I forgot to even mention that. See you on the next one.
Get lit, get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
Survivors Benefits Annuity, I think is what it's called.
I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit.
This guy made a joke and said they must be some really enterprising 8-year-olds if they're getting a Small Business Administration loan.
He tapped me on the shoulder and said, this is gonna be.
Or you're a fucking retard.
Stop.
Why would Social Security computer track Small Business Association loans?
Stop. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my mom's an alcoholic. Oh, give me a. Oh my God. Damn it. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss him off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss him off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round
Good night.
down.